The language we use is powerful, and it's an area where we have so much choice. Small changes in what words we use and how we say things can not only change how we feel, but also how we act and how we respond. They shape our model of the world and of ourselves. We learn language from our family, community, and culture. However, what we are modeled supports us in often putting ourselves in a box, viewing ourselves in the world in limited, judgmental, or negative ways, and holding ourselves back. We can feel like a victim in our life rather than empowered to be who we are and make changes we want to make. But fortunately, since we do have choice, if our languaging isn't working for us, we can change that. To do this, practice switching your languaging from victim to empowered using this table. You'll go from feeling at effect in your life and victim to at cause in your life and empowered simply by changing the words you're using. You will feel and realize that you do have choice. Look for the following words or phrases on the left and switch them to ones on the right. So for example, you might notice yourself saying, I have to, I'm forced to, I need to. And these things aren't usually true. You can switch that to I want to, I choose to, I love to, I get to, I'm grateful for. These are going to have a very different energy when you switch these words, and notice how there's truth in those statements and you have a very different experience. You can also switch shoulds to coulds, and you'll have a very different experience from I should versus I could. So for example, I really should eat more salads. Very different than I could eat more salads. Such a different energy, and you simply switched your languaging from victim to empowered. Another one to look out for is always and never. Those are generalized statements and tend to take something that is not an always or never situation and make it into something bigger than it is. So you can switch that to sometimes, or at times, or there have been times, versus always or never. And it's actually more accurate, and it has a much better energy for you. It's going to make things so much easier. As you look at this chart, notice one or two on the left that you want to look out for and practice actively in the moment, catching it and switching it to something on the right. It probably will be clunky at first, and that's totally fine and normal, but over time you will naturally begin to use that languaging on the right, and it'll just be what comes to you automatically because you've practiced switching it enough. For example, with shoulds, that almost never comes out of my mouth anymore. It's almost always a could or a different way of phrasing it because there's nothing really I should do. That's a judgment. You can also expand this to other languaging that might not necessarily be on this very short table. To do this, just start noticing what your thoughts are when you're feeling a negative emotion like anxiety or stress or shame or guilt. And just notice what they are by slowing it down a little bit to get familiar with what is the actual sentence or sentences you're thinking. And then you can ask yourself one of these two questions. Is that true? Or you can ask, is this a helpful thought? The thing to remember here is you have a choice, and your choice will determine your experience here. You can choose to have a better and easier experience simply by switching the words you're using. There are limitless options when it comes to what something means. And the truth is, nothing actually has meaning except for the meaning we give it. And there are limitless ways to view our reality because reality is just our perception and interpretation of our experiences.